And criminal defense attorney Ryan Pacyga. And today I'm going to talk to you about what you should do if you're accused of a sexual assault. And I'm talking about immediately. And let me get right to it. Before you do anything else, try to get onto your phone or social media accounts and see if you can screenshot or record any communications or posts between you and the accuser, whether those are social media posts that he or she made, as well as any Snapchat or other media that you guys might have communicated through text messages, other messages through other apps, and the like. As you know, some of these automatically get deleted by the application itself really fast. Some others, the person who is sending them will block you and not allow you to retrieve those things, or will delete their account, or your phone will automatically delete it and the like. So these are things you want to capture right away, and I'm going to give you a couple reasons why. I've been doing this for a long time, and I think that unfortunately, they're not all will, but unfortunately, I think there are some victims advocates or friends of accusers, even potentially some law enforcement or prosecutors that will encourage people to get rid of their, social media accounts that might have some helpful posts for the defense on those sorts of things. And the like. And then, of course, some people just do it naturally on their own. And I've had a couple cases where there's been big questions about some electronic evidence in cases, and if we weren't able to find it or have the cooperation later on from prosecutor or law enforcement in it, that might have led to a much more tragic result for some clients. I'll give you some examples of that. One, a military member that I represented on the East Coast. He was away for a military training. So was his accuser. They were both in the military. She had a fiance back home where she lived in another state, but she's gone for this training, and they get kind of friendly over the training, and she starts showing him in a bar some photos of her on her phone in lingerie, a whole bunch of lingerie photos. She's flirting with him. She's showing him that she's on a dating app. Her fiance didn't know anything about, had any idea about that. And, she asked him if she can come back to his room. They go back to the room. They have relations. Boyfriend can't get a hold of her on her phone that night. Obviously, she's not answering her cell phone because she's hooking up with this other guy. So boyfriend calls the hotel, and somehow the boyfriend later finds out through someone that she's in this, or she had told him she was hanging out with some people. She's in this room with this guy. Boyfriend gets the hotel to patch the call through to that hotel room instead, and he answers, and she's in there, and boyfriend flips out, right? Well, the next day, of course, flying home, she thinks about it, and she ends up accusing the military guy that she was hooking up with of a rape because she's afraid of losing her relationship with her fiance, of course. So we find out about this, and I'm telling the prosecutor later in the case, hey, wait a minute. I'm questioning her in a preliminary hearing about you're showing this guy you hooked up with my client, pictures of yourself in lingerie, you're on a dating app, and all these sorts of things, trying to let the prosecutor know, listen, she's covering a lot up here that was happening. And she admits that, maybe it could have happened because she's on cross under oath, right? So I tell the prosecutor, why don't you guys get her phone? Because they had my client's phone, they didn't have hers, and I said, look at this. She's going to lie about some of these things, and I want you guys to look at it so you have the truth, right? Well, finally, they're hearing us out on this, and they ask for her phone, and she says no. And they say, hey, we're not going to reveal anything in your phone to anyone else, but we do need to be able to look at what was going on, here and what was on your phone and not, that he's saying that you were showing him these things, and also this dating stuff, because that's going to call into question whether she's being truthful about this situation, of course. And she refused to give it up to the prosecution. They told her, if you're not going to let us look at this, we're going to have to dismiss the case because this could be a cover-up of some important information in the case. And rather than giving her phone just for them to look through, remember, and they weren't looking in for any evidence of a crime or to jam her up on anything, but rather just to get the truth of the matter, she ended up not giving her phone over, and we got the case dismissed. She was obviously hiding a lot that was going on there in that situation, right? Second story. There was a woman who had had some interactions with a guy. They had hooked up on a night, and then later on in a text messaging, she was telling him how much she liked it and wanted him to come back over the next time and all that sort of stuff, right? And he wasn't interested in being back with her. It ended up kind of being a one night stand. And for whatever reason, she got angry about that later. And about a month later, she accused him of a sex assault from this night. And she had deleted the text messages on her phone where she was telling him how much she liked the night before and wanted him to come back over and all that sort of stuff. And of course, didn't tell law enforcement about any of that. He didn't have the text messages anymore because he wasn't interested in hooking back up with her, and didn't want to keep talking with her. And so law enforcement charged the guy. And this was going on, and they were furthering in the investigation, and I'm talking with them. And in that situation, I'm learning about, well, was there anything else going on, that we can use to prove it? No, I don't have the text messages anymore. Well, we found a way to be able to have that come back out. And in that situation, that ultimately got him cleared of what were obviously at that point false allegations. But had these text messages not been retrievable, or this evidence not been retrievable, because sometimes it isn't, and it would have been gone, that would have looked like a whole different situation. And of course, a jury would want to know the truth about those kind of conversations. Of course, I would hope law enforcement want to know about it, and I would hope that prosecution would want to know about those things as well. Another story, this goes quite a ways back now. There was a woman who worked as a prison guard, and her teenage son was over the age of consent, but him and another buddy went to a park. They were meeting two women of their same, about 17, 18 years old, that they knew. And the four of them, two and two, each started to hook up in the park. This was kind of a planned thing. Well, something, I won't go into the details, but a sexual sort of act happens between my client and the girl that he was with, and it's consensual. Later on, her boyfriend finds out about it because rumors fly in these small towns, and then she said she was sexually assaulted. Law enforcement was investigating it. They were going to charge him. Lo and behold, during our own investigation of it before he's charged, we find out that his friend, this was not a smart idea, but his buddy thinks it was funny in the park to be filming them from a distance as this thing is going on. She was alleging that, he had grabbed her head and was pushing her down on the ground and forcing her and all this sort of stuff. And he was saying, no, I didn't, no, I didn't, no, I didn't. Of course, we don't know what happened because we didn't have any proof one way or the other. Well, there's this video of it all of a sudden, and the video even had audio. It wasn't that far away. And we find out about this. We get our investigator over right away. Investigator interviews the kid, gets the video, brings it immediately to law enforcement. And law enforcement gets to look at this, and they pick up the phone and they call me, and they're like, Ryan, oh my God, thank you so much for finding this. We were going to charge your client, and that would have been a horrible mistake. We're so sorry. We're so glad we have this video evidence. He's not going to be charged. And so I called the prosecutor that was part of the investigation team talking with law enforcement, and I asked her, hey, are you going to charge her now for falsely reporting a sex assault? And this is the truth. The prosecutor said to me, Ryan, no, we're not going to do that. We couldn't do that. That would be politically incorrect. And I thought, politically incorrect? Are you kidding me? There's no consequence for when you know for sure that it's a false report, that it's a fake allegation, and that can ruin someone's life that way, and you're not going to charge it because it's politically incorrect? And that, unfortunately, is the thought in these situations. For sure, there are real allegations of sex assault, and those need to be prosecuted, of course. But there are also many false allegations, and it's a tragedy because I've known guys that have committed suicide, guys that get suicidal about these situations, that lose their employment, that lose their family, that lose their mental health, you name it. And And then sometimes, of course, there can be even wrongful convictions where a jury believes the story even though it's a lie, and someone goes to prison for something they never did. And that's why it's so important for people to keep an open mind about what the real story is rather than just jumping on the bandwagon of what they're hearing right away. But back to you about what you can do. Um, there are people who will absolutely delete true evidence in a situation, unfortunately. And so, if you can get your hands on this stuff for yourself and protect yourself and capture it, the posts after the fact, messages, communications, you name it, anything you can do to preserve it might just save your future. And I wanted to give you that tip out there. I'm criminal defense attorney Ryan Pacyga. Among other things, I defend sex assault cases. And if you have any questions or you need help, you can find me at arrestedmn.com or call me at 612 339 5844.